$8,000.
All right, I'm going to call to order then tonight's meeting of the Regional Governance Board of the Southwest Vermont Regional Technical School District for our meeting Monday, October 17, 2016. We do have a quorum present. Thank you for coming out this evening, ladies and gentlemen. And we'll proceed with the published agenda. The first item on the agenda is the public comments. Do we have any public comments? All right, seeing and hearing none, we'll move on to the consent agenda. In the packet are the minutes of the RGB full board meeting for September 19th. Can I have a motion to accept those?
So moved.
Second. Moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky. Any question on the minutes? Seeing none, then all in favor of accepting the minutes as published, please signify by raising your hands.
Okay.
Any opposed to the minutes? Any abstain? We have one abstain.
I didn't abstain, I'm for.
Okay. Did you get that? Yeah, he is for it, he said.
I'm for. Yay.
So it's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, and one abstain.
Very good, thank you.
Payroll warrants number 7, 1010, and 1012. Motion for those.
So moved.
Second.
Moved by Francis and seconded again by Ricky. Any questions or concerns on the payroll warrants? Seeing none, then we'll vote on those. All those in favor of accepting them as published, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Vendor warrants 1011 and 1013 as published in your packet. Motion on those?
So moved.
Moved by
Second.
Leanne and seconded by Ricky. Questions on any of the vendor warrants? All right, seeing none on those, we will vote on those. All those in favor of accepting them as published, please signify by raising your hand. That's unanimous. Also in your packet are your cash flow statements, your revenue and expenses. And if you look those over, you'll see that we've got some fairly detailed reports there from the business office. Appreciate that, Stephanie, of revenues, expenses, our current budget, and also we are now including the adult educational program. Revenue and expenses are now published in that packet, which is available to the public as well on our website. So make sure you look those over and become familiar with those. Committee reports. Policy Committee. Leon.
We met, the policy committee met on the 13th to finalize 2 additional policies to bring before the board, which is in the package. But the first items on the agenda, items are listed, is 2 from the previous meetings, school safety policy 1030C. And so we didn't have any changes or corrections to be made to that one. That policy is up for approval.
Okay.
So we'll do it one at a time. That was 1 last time, approval this month, without any changes. So we can have a motion.
Make a motion.
Second. Okay, so a motion has been made for the policy 1030, the school safety policy, for approval. Any questions or concerns on that policy? We looked that over and discussed that at the last meeting as well.
No changes.
No changes. Therefore, we'll vote. All those in favor of accepting that policy as published, please signify by raising your hands. That's unanimous.
The next policy on the agenda is policy 5005C, report of child and vulnerable adult abuse, sexual abuse, and sexual violence. That policy was at no changes from the previous board meetings. It's going around, so it's exactly the same as it was. So I'd like to have a motion to
So moved.
warn
Second.
approval.
Moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky to approve the 505C reporting of child and vulnerable adult abuse, sexual abuse, and sexual violence policy. Any questions or concerns on that policy as
I
published?
have a question.
Ed?
That same policy has been going around through the SVSU districts?
Similar, but this is a different district. The same, Bruce and I both sit on the same one. and we
Has that been
make sure
approved in the other districts?
Thanks.
I believe it has been, yes.
Okay.
Usually
Yeah,
takes,
we put forth of everything that was out there to go through.
Yeah.
And went, I think it was, yes. I would say that, yes.
okay.
Okay. The next policy on,
Let's vote on this one.
okay,
All those then in favor of the policy of reporting of child and vulnerable adult abuse, sexual abuse, and sexual violence, policy 505C, please signify by raising your hands. Unanimous, Barb. The next policy for warning.
the next policy is for warning. That's policy, policy 4450C, employment, employees' conflict of interest. And this was a policy that we put out pretty much, and it had to do with some of our grants that really wanted us to document information about our employees and making sure that there was no conflicting hiring in the relation along that line. And the appearance of conflict is also in there, and it went to the staff and so forth along that. So that's basically what's in the conflict of interest policy for employees.
And the second one,
And the second one, for one, and I thought you would take them one at a time, is the travel policy, and it's under the same, for some of the grants and things, we needed to document information about how we treat our travel and what we're gonna reimburse and what we're gonna cover and not cover under this particular policy out there. So that was being required as a result of some of the grants and
But they're required under the federal procurement for grants, and so we
Yeah.
receive federal funds.
so we're following policy and procedure of the feds are basically telling us that we need to follow.
right.
And that's all been written in this policy.
That's what's been written in these two policies, is what the feds are saying that we gotta have and do, and make sure that we have a method of following and documenting that information.
So these two policies are for warrant. Can I have a motion then that we move forward and warn these two policies?
So moved. Second.
Moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky to warn these two policies. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hands.
I have one minor comment.
Sure.
There's a typo in item,
Which one?
in a travel reimbursement policy in item B in the last sentence. Says, I think the word term should be terms.
There's terms. There's two terms in there. Oh, the term.
Thank you for picking that up, Ed. We can correct
Looking for
that.
it.
It's minor, but
So where were you?
It's the second term.
item
Last-
B, in the last line of
Last
that
clause.
paragraph, where it says, whose terms are more restrictive than those of the district, the term of the grant or contract applying
Okay.
should be terms in the
Yes.
second instance.
Yeah. So with that change, we'll make sure that we get that in there for the coming around for the.
Well, Ed, doesn't
what's
that
it
also change applies? The terms applies?
Yeah, I'm saying terms
Okay.
should be plural.
And what about apply?
Applies.
Where?
Yes.
Oh, we don't have that apply. You adding it in there.
Applies.
No, you have apply at the end of the sentence, she's saying it
Oh,
should be
okay,
plural,
yeah,
like
apply.
terms is.
No, I think that apply is correct.
The contract apply for the terms of the grant or contract applies. You see? We'll take it up in terms of making a notation when we meet again in terms of whether it need to be plural.
Big old grammar discussion coming up.
Okay.
Well, we are a school.
Anything further from policy?
You know, That's it. So that we'll have something on for that, for the next time.
Okay.
To include these comments from everybody
Thank you.
and look into it. Okay.
Finance Committee.
Finance, we met September 26th to review a couple of issues. Number one, manufacturing program, what we wanted to do as far as money allocated onto what products, what equipment. We also had a discussion about the absence of our adult education assistant director that we're not going to replace, and we're going to ask our current staff to take up the duties. So we've gone over what we think are the duties, and I'm going to refer this to Mike and to executive session for conversation on it. We also did meet today before this meeting, and it was pretty much a little rerun of that same adult education, but it also had to do with a manufacturing bid. I don't know if you want to take that over, Mike, and run with that, or if you want me to just read it, or,
I can, whatever you.
go ahead, I'll let you do it. I'm sure you do a much better job.
So last month, we did a tour of the manufacturing facility, and took a look at the machining and some recommendations from the current instructor to what needs to be replaced currently and what we should be doing for the future. So out of that tour, we talked about putting out a bid on a quote request for 2 vertical machining centers to replace the current aged machines that are down there. We did put a quote out, or a bid out. We received 3 quotes back for 2 milling machines. We did receive 3 quotes back, one from Brooks Associates for $117,800. This is for 2 machines. Morris Bridgeport for $145,000, and Trident Machine Tools for Haas Tool Room Mills for $82,376. We'll be making recommendation under action items to approve this bid. And then we also talked about the budget adoption process for the next few months. during the
Correct.
next committee meeting.
Great. Did everybody understand that we are recommending that we take the bid of $82,376 for the Haas two-room mill?
Okay.
I understand that, and I agree with it, but what is the difference between the machines they're providing and the other 2 bidders? Because it's quite a cost.
There's quite a cost spread, and want me to answer?
I was
go
gonna,
ahead.
the simple answer was money. The cost.
Educational discount.
Educational discount.
Okay.
And the other 2 machines are more production machines. They're much faster machines, and they're just meant for production and not an educational environment per se. I did speak with the instructor tonight. There was a couple questions on this.
You can mention those as well.
One of the questions that was brought up by John Gothier, who couldn't be here for this meeting, talked about if in fact Haas and Trident machines would provide the interface for the networking, and that does include the interface for the networking, the Ethernet. We also have the appropriate software. We currently run CamWorks, which is a little outdated, but it will run these machines, Adam says, but we are looking to upgrade in the short future to either Fusion Cam or a SpreeCam software, which is more relevant in today's manufacturing world. But we do have everything currently in place to run these machines. And we are recommending the Trident Machine Tools bid for $82,376.
That's it.
I'll motion it, second that.
We
I'll
can take
motion
it up now, yeah.
Okay.
So,
I have another question. What's the total?
$82,376.
I think that's pretty cheap to
For
keep the
two
machine.
Two
machines.
machines.
Yeah, I think that's
Two
pretty
milling
cheap to keep
machines.
the machine going.
Yeah.
Do they get the 2 existing machines in return?
No, the 2 existing machines will be put out to sale for other tech centers, which is which we normally do, and then offered for private sale, but they potentially could be traded in, but these do not include any of those, any potential trade-in value.
And if, are you going to use it also in the adult ed program?
Yes, Meg is going to touch tonight on the precision manufacturing program that she is working on with CCV, and we'll be able to utilize it as well for that.
You might sell it to one of those students.
You never know.
It is a recommendation also of the Finance Committee that the funding for this comes from the Reserve for Equipment Fund line item that we have. The current balance of that is $251,040, so we have plenty of money to cover the purchase of that in that fund line item.
Do we know what the price would be if we traded in this equipment, or wasn't that an option to be
One of the,
considered?
one of the bid, and actually I believe it was Trident, had offered 10,000 for the equipment in trade. In speaking with the instructor, we may be able to get more if we offer it to other centers or to.
Or to private
Yeah,
industry.
Private
I
industry.
agree with that.
Worst case, they could be traded in, but we may get more for them
Right.
elsewhere.
So we were gonna try to do it.
That's not much of an offer for 2 machines.
That was his feeling as well.
Any other questions or concerns on this purchase? All right, seeing, hearing none, we'll go ahead and we'll vote. All those in favor of purchasing the Trident Machine Tools Haas Tool Room mills, that's 2 mills for $82,376, please signify by raising your hand. And
We should point out, for the benefit of the public, that every year there's an item on the ballot for putting money into an equipment fund, and that's how we have a dollar value of $251,000. We've been careful in not spending it unless we really needed to.
Right. And this program is in need of industry modernization.
I was going to ask you that, Mike. Do you know how long it's been since we've actually put any money into equipment?
A
Into the
substantial amount of money in that program has probably been at least 8 or 9 years. That may be 1 or 2 equipment purchases, but large equipment like this it came with the building.
Right.
You know, 20-plus years old.
Other than
Don't-
trucks
Yeah,
and
it's,
backhoes.
right, that's what most that equipment fund we think about is for backhoes and trucks and
Right.
the likes of that, and not machine shop stuff, so that's why I was wondering.
Yeah, and this is, you know, the beginning of a series over the course of maybe the next 2 or 3 years of upgrading that program to become more modern and in line with industry. You know, this isn't a one-shot deal, but we certainly won't be coming to you every month with a proposal of $80-some thousand. It's going to be over the next couple of years.
I think those 2 machines are about 13 years old. I think I was on the board when we purchased.
There are two newer lathes down there. I think you're
I may
referring
be
to, Ed, but
confusing.
yeah,
I think these were from 96.
These are from the
I was
early
having- I
90s,
have
mid-90s,
a
yeah.
hard time finding where that we had purchased them in our softwares.
Very good. And as mentioned, Ricky's mentioned that we do have a draft out for proposed timelines and meetings for the Finance Committee from Friday, November 4th, all the way through Tuesday, March 7th, where we will be putting together proposals for the budget and warrant and approving the budget throughout that timeline. So, and those will be published and warned in the banner for the public and anyone else wishing to attend. Okay. Let's see, no other committee meetings. So, we'll move on to the adult education for the action items. And Mike, you should give us a little rundown of what we have reviewed in the Finance Committee, as well as a breakdown of the key duties to support the consolidation of adult ed as recommended under the current administration.
Sure. If you do not have a copy in your Dropbox, there is one there. I do have a hard copy here if anyone wants it. Pass it around just in case. We've broken down the, as asked by Leanne and other members of both the Finance Committee and the Education Committee, to break out what we consider the key duties of adult education. This is certainly not all the duties of adult education. This would be the key points that we've identified as being the most important to continue on providing quality adult education to the residents of our region. And we've broken it down into a few categories here. Under secretarial and support services, administrative, guidance, financial, and general oversight. So we have taken out, categorized these. I'm not going to read them all to you here. They are in front of you, but as examples, secretarial and support's already in place. We have a school year assistant who does typing, updating reports, registering students, creating, updating student lists and files, answering the phone, returning phone calls, clerical work, helping to support the LNA program, which is a cohort running tonight. It's pretty labor intensive. Administrative duties, which would be duties to Meg, currently under the Assistant Director for Adult Education, course design and development, student support and coaching, marketing and outreach, course scheduling and brochure, you can read there. Other guidance to our guidance counselor, Tom, additional registration, financial aid, career guidance. Financial duties, there was some discussion around this at the Finance and Ed Committee about who in the finance office would be doing what. We've refined this since the last meeting. As you can see there with the two employees, both Debbie and Stephanie, of who would be doing what, such as accounts payable and purchasing, grants management, fixed assets, and financial reporting. And then general oversight, which would fall under myself, ensuring compliance with educational programming, final screening of instructors, and also working with Meg and directing the planning for revision of current programs and future programs. So that's kind of the breakdown of the key duties that we see at this point to cover adult education from now until at least the end of the school year. We think this is a model that will work. There's no proof of anything until we try it. I'm confident that it will work, and we'll come back to you in May and say this is working and this is the model we'd like to propose. But I want to give it a trial period. I think it's only fair for both the current administration to see if this is something we can actually do and take on, and is it fair to adult education, the students of our region, and us as well. And so that is kind of the overview of the proposal. Be happy to take questions. I'm sure there are some.
What is FAMP?
FAMP is Fixed Assets Management.
Okay.
It should also be noted that the committee has decided to take this year up until May to do a review of this proposal, that we'll look at it again in May to refine any of these duties and responsibilities or add if needed. So this really is a trial. We may decide we might not want to go this come May and say we're going back to the old way and we're going to hire a director, et cetera. But at this point, the committee is making that recommendation that we pass it on to the current administration and broken down with the duties and responsibilities as outlined here. Jackie?
Is there an additional time that is added onto the duty day?
Additional time that's added onto the duty day?
Yes, in order to complete these processes.
We anticipate, yes, there has definitely been, certainly for the administrative, the assistant director is going to be putting in additional time in her day to administer this program. That's right. And as needed by the others as well.
Right.
So I guess my next question then would be, can the additional time be tracked so that would be part of the evaluation?
It certainly could be. That's right. And that'll be, like you say, part of our evaluation in May will be to discuss how much time was involved and out of their time of their day towards that. I think that's appropriate request.
So for instance, if somebody put in, let's say, a 7.5-hour day and because of their additional duties now has an 8-hour day, then compensation would also follow.
Right.
Right.
One of the things that got brought up, and you had your hand raised, I'm sorry.
Yeah, I was just going to say that we need to be tracking that so that we can document the costs for the state since we're partially reimbursed for the cost of adult ed.
In the research and looking at the different models that were proposed to the Finance Committee and the Ed Committee is the reimbursement for Assistant Director for Adult Education or Adult Education Coordinator is held flat at, sorry, just give me 1 second, at 21, just around $22,000. It's no longer, the state has flatlined it, they're no longer fluctuating it with increases in salaries.
Okay.
So what should be considered for next year is, in the event that this structure works, what portion of the salary, of Meg's time, the assistant director's time, would be designated as assistant director for adult ed and assistant director, so that both grants can be utilized.
Is that a recent change in what the state is doing?
I don't know when, I spoke with someone at the Agency of Education, I'm not sure, he said several years ago, they flatlined the reimbursement for, and it's based on, and that 21,000 is based on, the average throughout the state, not our center.
Right.
And how many hours is that?
You have to have a 50% or more coordinator to receive that money.
Correct, but how many hours does that entail? Because 21.
That's a difficult question to answer because of the amount of courses that you might be offering or whatever, and in different locations that may be very popular and others not, so.
This is just a grant.
We didn't,
Yeah.
Is there a reason why we're even talking hours?
we didn't,
Last thing
I was gonna say, we didn't look at it that way. We looked
Right.
at job responsibilities that needed to
Duties.
take
Right.
place, and that's what that sheet breaks out.
I was
along
responding
that
to the
line.
grant
Okay,
portion
I know,
of the
I'm just
question.
saying, I don't wanna get so much into that, because we got responsibilities that need to be met
Right.
in terms of title and what's involved in that.
And that's what both the Finance and the Education Committee had asked for us to do, is to break down, not necessarily what additional hours, we don't know per se yet what that's going to be, and what duties need to be picked up. And it's very difficult to, your day doesn't end here and adult education starts here. I mean, they're intertwined throughout your workday and added on to your current duties essentially. And does that mean an extended workday sometimes? Yeah, it absolutely does. But what that exact number, I don't have that answer yet.
Again, I don't want to sound insensitive, but I hired you to do a job, and I expect you to do the job. And I'm willing to talk to you about hours and stuff, but I also know you'll be here till midnight if the job has to be done. And if you want to take off tomorrow, you do. It's a salary job. We're paying you for the job, not paying you for all the hours you put in.
I think we'll have a better handle come May, too, as to how this is going to smooth out, how it's going to operate. We may have a better idea of being able to say, yeah, so-and-so puts in about this many hours more a week, or et cetera. But right at this point, it's difficult.
I don't care about the hours that are put in per se. I was just trying to figure out if we were going to qualify for the reimbursement from the state.
Yeah.
And at this point, it looks like we will get an reimbursement amount of some type. Yeah. Okay, is there any other discussion that we want to do on this? We are going to go into executive session to discuss the stipends associated with the current contracts that are in place to be attached to so we will not take a vote until after we come out of executive session on this. In that case, we're going to move on in the agenda. I need to get back to it. Superintendent's report.
Good evening, everybody. My report will be broken up tonight with my portion as well as adult education and daytime operations with Meg. For the public and for the board, I just want to remind everybody that my reports monthly are really just brief highlights and snippets of what we do here for the last 30 days from a meeting. You know, we certainly do a lot more. I could go on for 2 or 3 hours and talk to you about what we do each month, but so my reports are abbreviated, and I want the public to know that. We often talk about 3 or 4 programs, 3 or 4 activities that we did, but there are hundreds of things that happen in a week here. I just can't talk about them all at the board meeting. So tonight I want to talk about, on October 13th, we had 28 females attend the Women Can Do Conference at Vermont Technical College. That is an annual conference that we help sponsor and send students to. It is just for females in non-traditional roles. 5 students from Mount Anthony attended and 23 from Arlington and Burton attended that last Thursday. That's a pretty big showing, almost 30 students to take up there in grades 9 through 12, primarily 11th and 12th graders at VTC. Also, as you know, we had a big emphasis last year on reforming our work-based learning and our industry tours, our placements, et cetera. I'm happy to report that we are ramping up in full steam ahead with following last year's plan and improving upon it with programs in outings and on industry visits and rotations, et cetera. It's all coming into play based on last year's plan. It's working out very well, and we're happy to see that continue. October 15th, today is our snapshot report for our enrollment. I will have a semi-full report for you next month. Today is the day we take the snapshot of what our FTEs look like. We report that out to the towns. They have until November to get back to us to verify that the data we sent them is accurate, and then we'll have a fixed number for our budgeting purposes and what our FTE counts are. As I said in the Finance Committee meeting, the number of students in seats appears to have gone up from last year. I'm using rough numbers. Last year, this time was about 411 students. This semester, I count about 463 students in programs and classes. But as you know, it all involves seat time, how long these students are actually in seats. So we may, in fact, see an increase the number of students in seats, and we may see a flat FTE count. I don't know yet. I'm hoping that's going to go up, but we'll know once we get the minutes counted. You know, it is kind of an archaic system based on minutes, but it's the way we're funded. So I hope to have a preliminary FTE count to you for next month. Our law enforcement program, as you know, we have a new instructor, James Gully, who you nominated last month. James has gone full bore with the program. I've seen many different organizations in there, state police, local sheriffs, the Bennington PD. He's gone to they just took a trip to the police academy, did role playing with the academy class up there and scenario-based stuff, so that's really going well. If you follow our Facebook page, the culinary luncheon has started as of last Friday. It is every Friday, except this Friday because it's an in-service day. It is $7. It's open to the public. And we start serving at 11:15 and end by 12:30. You can take out, you can dine in, whatever you'd like. To give you an example, this past week's menu, they're posted weekly on Facebook. We did a butternut squash bisque. The main entree was open-faced hot turkey sandwich with homemade gravy, a side of gravy fries, cranberry sauce. Dessert was apple crisp a la mode. All that for $7. It's a good deal. The week before that, it was breakfast for lunch. It was the students' first buffet. And it was make your own omelets, and they had homemade sausage and Belgian waffles and whatnot. The students develop the menu every week and serve them on Fridays. It used to be Wednesdays, but now we're on Fridays. It's better for cleanup and planning purposes to have it on a Friday afternoon than a Wednesday, according to our instructor. Also, again, I encourage you to follow Facebook. I know I say that a lot, but it's our best media outlet that we have. The Forestry 2 class is clearing the road that will service the Habitat for Humanity project on Branch Street, right over here. The trees are being worked into firewood that'll be utilized through the Warms Wood program. After the wood's cut, split, and dried, it'll be distributed throughout the community to heat homes of the less fortunate. So we are working with that. Also, this last Tuesday evening, Brian Kuhn, the building trades instructor, 2 students, myself, attended the Habitat for Humanity executive meeting in Manchester to discuss our participation in partnering with them on a more permanent basis to build one of the of the several homes planned over on North Branch Street. I'm happy to report that the board did approve that, and we will be breaking ground there very soon with building trades. Forestry's already working to clear the site, so that's very exciting news for that. I also have a letter here. Ken, I think you read this at your VSD meeting, but I do want to bring attention to it. It is in your Dropbox. A letter from Dr. Michael Mugitz, the principal over at Molly Stark. We have been working with Molly last year with their new trail system. I know I mentioned it in one of my reports. There's a letter here that I'd like to read. It's addressed to Brian and the CDC. This letter will serve to convey our school's appreciation for the labor and skill provided by the members of the Building Trades Department that produce benches and picnic tables for Molly Stark Elementary Outdoor Education Site. The efforts and energy of the members of the work team working under your supervision represent a significant form of assistance in pursuit of our goal of providing a unique outdoor educational experience for our learners. It was particularly rewarding to involve the SVCDC in this cooperative venture amongst district schools addressing common goals. Practical training for your classes and an expanding learning environment for our school. Respectfully, Dr. Michael Mugitz. So it's always nice to receive letters of thanks and praise from the community. So again, there's a lot going on. This is kind of the snapshot of the last 30 days. I would like to turn over the remainder of my report to Meg and then take any questions that you may have.
Okay, so the update on the Certified Production Technician program that we're doing with CCV and Department of Labor is Melanie Letourneau from Department of Labor and Jeannie Jenkins from CCV visited the design and manufacturing classroom on this past Friday to present to students about the program, hoping to recruit seniors that would be able to take this evening course and then hopefully be set up so that by the time they graduated, they could go right out into the workforce. I've been reaching out to graduates from our programs through Facebook and email to recruit for the program. The program is going to start early November. It was originally planned to start in September, but it got bumped back for recruitment purposes. I've also, I've had some contact with Bennington Health and Rehab who would like to partner with us in our LNA program. So that's just something new. So that as that develops, I'll let you know at the next board meeting. I'm currently developing ads to recruit teachers for CDL training, welding, as well as an RN to take over as the program administrator for the LNA program. It has to be an RN that does that piece according to the Board of Nursing. Right now we have Peg Daly who is working with our program. I don't know if you know Peg, but she's retired and I think she wants to be retired. So, she agreed to help us with this first LNA cohort. But come January, we will need someone else so that Peg can actually enjoy her retirement. This Friday, I'm meeting with Peter Lynch from the Vermont Fire Academy to talk about developing a Firefighter 1 course here in this area. So we're pretty excited about that. I've also had a lot of teachers come forward that used to teach in the adult ed program and who haven't been teaching here for a bit, but they're looking to get involved again, which I think is great, especially if we're looking at recruiting teachers that have strengths in certain areas, and so that we're providing the best education to our community. And I continue to meet with community groups. This past Wednesday, I met with two transition counselors from UCS. They work with students age 14 up until 21. And their goal is to help kids transition from high school out into the workforce. And it just seems like a natural fit for both CDC day program as well as evening program. And hopefully we'll get, recruit more students for our day program as well as introduce them to the CDC and, show them that, we do also have a continuing ed program at night so that people can transition into the workforce. When I leave here at night, I see students walking around that I've had in the past that, look like they need some type of connection or some type of guidance. And hopefully that's something that our building can turn into in the evening. And I think that's all.
When you said partner in reference to Bennington Health and Rehab, what does that mean?
They would like to use us to send prospective employees to us.
Okay.
To be trained, basically.
Trained.
Yeah.
Yeah. So,
It's a good connection. It's a good feed for our program.
I agree.
Something else that I forgot to mention, and Meg jogged my memory, is we've also been meeting with Southern Vermont College as a way to reach out to institutions within our community. They have a third meeting scheduled tomorrow morning at 8:30 with Southern Vermont College we've talked about expanding dual enrollment opportunities for our students with Southern Vermont, not just CCV and VTC, talking about potential facility and resource sharing, and providing other opportunities for our students to get on a college campus, for college professors to come here, vice versa. We're making some real progress, I think. We're excited to be with SVC. I'm a graduate of SVC. They've done a lot of work there at the college and want to work with us and partner with us. And we welcome, the more relationships we have with colleges and industry, the better. So I'm looking forward to walking away to tomorrow's meeting. I think we're going to really start hammering out the dual enrollment credits, particularly in human services, medical area, criminal justice, and some real natural pathways that we have in common, and our local options for our students to attend a high-quality institution right in our own town.
Good. Thanks, Mike. As for my report, I'm just going to pick up on a few items that have already been mentioned, except for you forgot to mention recently in the Bennington Banner, our students were recognized for creating reading boards for the elementary school.
Thank you.
There was a nice picture and article as to how those students received their reading boards at a substantially less amount of money than if they'd had to buy them. So that was pretty encouraging to see that. I'm happy to see that we're moving ahead with our habitat presentation and that's been finalized, and that our building trades program will be building a house from the ground up, from start to finish, which is very important. They get to learn every aspect of building that house, not just the framing, but also the plumbing, the heating, the electrical, the roofing, the whole 9 yards. So that's exciting, and it's just up the street, which means they quickly get to the job site and back here. A whole lot less hassle. The last board meeting, we had a presentation on the manufacturing program. We thought that was excellent to be able to do that. I'd like to make a recommendation that at the next meeting, we hear from the law enforcement instructor and ask that we get a little tour of it. It sounds like he's off to a great start, but we'd be interested to hear what he's doing. And for the follow-on months, I'd recommend that you make some recommendations, because we'd like to hear from medical professions and from from everybody, all of our staff, and have them come in, and we'd like to be able to video production, et cetera, yeah, and be able to come in and listen to what they say and look at their shop, their equipment as well.
Right. I'll put together a proposed list after next month for Programs Monthly to come in and present and/or tour their program there.
Good. You mentioned the culinary luncheons. They run on Friday afternoons. I just wanted a point of clarification. Are those open to the general public?
They are open to the public.
It is open
yes.
to the public. So we invite the public to come in and sample some of our students' cooking.
What are the hours again that they're open?
Approximately 10:45 to 12:30. It's, part of it is the time when class is operational, the intro class is there, and there's more hands to help. It does get very busy at some portions of the day. You know, it is not open, I'm going to be clear, it's not open for students in the high school, as for adults and the public and our staff. But we're serving anywhere between a low of 30 to a high of 50 or 60 lunches on that day. So it depends on the menu and how popular it is.
Good. Good. Okay, and that's really all I wanted to cover. Is there any other business before the board before we retire to executive session?
Move we go into executive session.
Second.
Okay, moved by Francis and seconded by Ricky. All those in favor, please signify by raising your hand. Adjourn to the room next door.